Okay, welcome back everyone. It's Nicola Cairncross here, and I wanted to talk to you today about newsletters, also known as e-zines, and why I'm restarting mine. I've been writing a weekly e-zine for, well, since God was a lad, basically. I started in 1998, 1999, and it was just my nicolacairncross.com one then. And then when I bought a 12-bedroom hotel in Worthing, refinanced it, redid it up, and launched it, I turned my newsletter into the Diary of a Seaside Landlady. That was in about 2003. And I was definitely one of the first hotels ever in the UK to have a blog and a weekly newsletter. And people used to turn up and they used to tell me when they walked in the door, I feel like I know you and it feels like coming home. Because I used to talk about the hotel in the newsletter all the time. I used to talk about what's coming up in the local area. And I used to talk about challenges of running a business, running a hotel, running a business from the hotel. I used to really enjoy writing it. I enjoyed writing it for years and years and years, every single week. It was my way of keeping myself accountable. And that's how it started, actually. I just started writing what I was learning every week on the topic of money, because that was what I was most interested in those days, how to become more successful and how to make more money. So I would learn something during the week, 2 or 3 things, read a book, listen to a podcast, and I'd share it in the newsletter. This was the secret. Before blogging, I used to archive the newsletter on the website. So there's a simple 5-page website with the only option being to put your name and email in the box. And then pretty much like my website is now I think about it. And then I used to send out my newsletter every week. And every week there was people who would forward it on to other people. And there was a link at the bottom of the newsletter to subscribe. Must add that to mine. And then I used to make offers occasionally. And the offer was to work with me or to listen to something or to watch something. And it worked. It really worked. Google loved the constant archiving of an keyword-rich newsletter on the website. It was like blogging, early blogging. And it wasn't until 2006 that a method of doing that automatically and easily in the form of WordPress came along. But we're not here to talk about websites, are we? We're here to talk about newsletters. Why did I stop and why am I restarting? I stopped because my traffic dwindles, because unless you're prepared to pay for it, Google is filling up the front page of search results with its own results. So it's very hard to get any kind of SEO that gets you on the front page nowadays. So really, you have to aim for long tail keywords, which is 3, 4, 5 word key phrases. And you have to, then you can get shown close to the top. So if you're going to do that, then that's one of the things you need to be thinking about. And then you need to spend a lot of effort on your website getting people into your newsletter, because that's a prospect that you can email whenever you like for free, pretty much. We all have to pay to host our newsletters, but it's getting better and better. It's getting less expensive. In some ways it is, and other hosts are getting more expensive. So the more bells and whistles they add on, the more expensive it's getting. For example, my host Active Campaign has gone up from something like $30 a month to nearly $100 a month, because I like the automation feature. That's where an email gets sent out straight away, and then you can send a series of emails with breaks in between. I've been directing new clients and clients on very tight budgets recently to kit.com. Used to be ConvertKit, and it was really very nice to use. And then they decided they wanted, I think, to focus on e-commerce people. And then I think they've had another rebrand now to kit.com, and they're talking to creators. It's a nice interface. It's different to Active Campaign, very different, but in some ways it's much easier to use. And what you really want is to keep the tech simple. Other options are Beehive and Substack. I'm not so keen on Substack, even though I host podcasts there, because Twitter absolutely loathes Substack. Elon's got it in for them. You can't share anything from Substack onto Twitter and get a meaningful display of what it's about, a preview, if you like. So Beehive's good and Substack are good. What would I choose if I had to choose between them? Beehive's got a nicer interface. Substack can do more. Substack's free. Not sure about Beehive. Could be up to a certain amount. Kit.com allows you to have up to 1,000 emails on there, and it's free if you only want a landing page and you can deliver what you're promising, the ethical bribe, on the thank you page. So, for example, one of my clients, Philippa, fantastic filmmaker and video maker, and she offers a guide to using video professionally if you want to build your business. And so go over and check that out. It's at wildhorsefilms.co.uk, and we can deliver the guide on the thank you page. I've got another new client, Josephine Wolo, who helps people protect their assets with trusts and things like wills and lasting power of attorneys. We've decided that for her, we don't very much want to send a follow-up email, if not a series of follow-up emails, educating her ideal future client about her services and what situations the things she recommends and offers will work best in for people like farmers, for example. It depends what your requirements are, really. But if you want to put your requirements in the comments underneath here, I'll be very happy to try and help you and at least narrow down the options for you so it's not quite so daunting. So why am I starting my newsletter again? Apart from the fact I miss the discipline of writing every week a roundup of what I've been up to during the week, what's worked, what hasn't, what's changing. If you've watched any of my videos, you know how keen I am on that one. But also it's the fact that I've watched two people do a launch in the last few weeks, and the person who did best is someone who's been nurturing his newsletter for a long time, nurturing his mailing list for a long time, spent a lot of money on ads in the early days. And then when you get to a certain size mailing list, you can do joint ventures and you can do cross promotions where you promote someone's stuff if it would be appropriate for your audience, and they will promote your stuff back to their audience. So you get a crossover and people opting in from one e-zine to the next. That's another word for newsletter, by the way, e-zine. I haven't said that for a long time. It made me realize that I'm really being very slack. I need to focus my website more to get towards getting people into my mailing list, and then I can follow up with them, telling them a bit about me and my story and how I can help them. And all of that's much easier to do in a series of short emails than it is to do on your website. Your website on this nowadays, and a lot of people don't even know what that burger menu is for. So often you have to have all your information on the front page so people can scroll down and then just click. So that's a little website tip for you, even though we're talking about newsletters. So the first thing on my website now is my email newsletter opt-in. And I'll see how many people it takes to get a conversion. And then once I know out of every 100 people that come to the website who opts in and how many opt in, then I'll know what my sort of baseline figure is. And then I can go out and start using ads again and try and get and improve my average of converting visitors to email list subscribers. And then when I do a launch, which I'll be doing in January, I'll have a nicely warmed up, rapidly growing, hopefully, email list to make my offer to in January. That's why I want to do it. I've seen the power of doing a launch to an email list again. It's reminded me of how well it can work. And this was my friend doing a high ticket item offer of basically a luxury retreat in Mexico, learning about gold and silver investing. And because his list was so loyal and so warmed up by his constant sending of really high quality articles to them, a certain number of them just booked. It was just brilliant. So that's what reminded me and made me want to start my newsletter again. There's a financial incentive, but there's also a personal discipline incentive, which is where every week I get to recap on what's been going on in my business. And I know that that helps people in theirs because they email me back and tell me so. So if you're one of the people who are watching this on my YouTube channel and you're not yet on the mailing list, am I going to call it A Better Entrepreneur, which is the name of my book and the name of some of my programs? Or is it going to be something quirkier, like The Diary of, not a seaside landlady anymore, but it could be The Diary of an Untamed Mind, which was my friend's suggestion, because he says that I'm very, very curious, nay, nosy. That's what I want to do with the newsletter. I want it to be not just about business, not just about mindset, money, and marketing, which are the three topics I usually cover. I want it to be a bit more personal and quirky than that, so that perhaps one day I won't have a business and I can carry on writing my newsletter just for fun. We'll see. Anyway, come on over to nicolacairncross.com, opt in, see what you think, and I'd love to hear what you'd like me to be writing about. Speak soon.